Hi, good evening. Welcome. This is the second of our two September meetings of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission. It is September 17th, 6:48 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission will be conducted by remote participation. A recording of these proceedings can be accessed at any time using the registration link at the top of this agenda. And welcome, everyone. Let's do our customary introduction. So I get my screen back. Just let everybody know who we are, and starting with Ms. Price.
Hey there, my name is Denise Price, and I live in a local historic district.
Thank you. Mr. Coughlin.
Hi, my name is Dan Coughlin. I live in a historic building in Ward 3.
Thanks. Mr. Falvey.
Hi, my name is Ryan Falvey. I'm a resident of Ward 2.
Vice Chair Kelly.
Hi, I'm Robin Kelly. I am the realtor member on the commission and a historic homeowner in Union Square.
Mr. Shagnon.
I'm DJ Shagnon. I'm the landscape architectural member of the commission and a resident of Ward 5.
Thanks all. And I'm Eric Parks, an architect, historic homeowner, resident of Ward 3. And we have several members of staff here tonight. Ms. White.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I am in Preservation and Zoning Division. Mr. Grumensky?
Sorry, Sarah, we lost you for a second.
Oh, sorry. I am Sarah White. I'm a senior planner with PPZ, and I am here with my colleague, Andrew.
And I realized I didn't have my camera on. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Andrew Grumensky, planner, also in planning, preservation, and zoning.
All right. Thank you. Okay, we have two cases on our agenda tonight. One is a public hearing for an alteration to local historic district, and we have one public hearing, which is a determination of significance for under demolition delay review ordinance. And then we have a memorandum of agreement to review, which is the first thing on our agenda. So let's jump right to that. It's a memorandum of agreement at case HP 23-000073. Address is 101 Highland Avenue. Is the applicant here for that?
This is Andrew speaking. Oh, sorry, Sarah. Adam Dash has his hand raised. I am going to allow him to speak. I also have a Vladimir Benoy and a Dave Kadish. I'm assuming they're all part of the applicant team.
Correct.
Can you confirm? Okay, I will allow them all to speak.
And Andrew, can you promote me so that I will be able to mute and unmute?
Yes.
Thank you.
Making you, yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Dash and Mr. Kadish, you should be able to speak.
Thank you. Adam Dash, 48 Grove Street, representing the Somerville YMCA. Vladimir Benoit is the executive director of the YMCA. Dave Kadish is from Stantec. And BK Boley, I don't know if he's here from Stantec. He wasn't sure if he could make it tonight. If he is, promote him. If not, then we'll move on. If you could, Andrew, give Dave Kadish the ability to share his screen so he can run through the slides.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be great. So as you know, this is our fourth meeting with you on this YMCA project. And since our last meeting on August 20th, Stantec has reviewed various options regarding items which could be preserved in some fashion, and some are turning out to be too expensive for the project as it's has public funds in it and such, and being a nonprofit. You may have seen these slides that we uploaded a while back, but Dave can share a screen and we can go through them and explain them in a bit more detail, and then I can wrap up. Dave, can you share your screen?
Yes, I just got access. Let me try that right now. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Dave Kadish, principal with Stantec Architecture. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Alrighty, perfect. So as Adam had mentioned, we did go back after our last meeting and review all different items on the building to understand the potential to reuse, and we'll run through a handful of them now. And you will see, as in the first one here, we have started to overlay magnitude of cost, which certainly can have an impact on the ability to reuse them. But we will review here what we think is potential, and then we'll go through towards the end and discuss. The first is the fountainhead is a cast metal line fountainhead, which is currently being used to fill the current pool. We feel this is something that we could remove, reuse in some capacity within the new building at a fairly approachable cost. The second is what we had presented last meeting is the cast stone entablature on the southern facade above the main entrance to the existing YMCA. We do acknowledge this is a very costly item to reuse to just supporting the existing facade of the building. To slowly demolish and save, store, and reuse is something that's likely cost prohibitive to the project, and also the existing scale might be difficult to incorporate into the new building design. Items that we are looking to, or solutions we're looking to here, are to scan this element and potentially adjust the scale and 3D print or fabricate in other means to reuse within the building, whether it's the main lobby, swimming pool area, the basketball court. Those are the general ideas that we're reviewing right now. And also, as described last meeting, the Young Men's Christian Association signage will not be reused because that is not really the brand of the Y at this point, and something they would not like to promote. So it's more about the architectural element is what we are studying at this time. And all similar notes, this is the stone entablature on the eastern facade that we're looking at the same items, whether this size or element might fit better. We're reviewing both of them at the same degree of scanning, reusing potentially on the inside, and attempting to understand those costs and if it's within budget. We reviewed the stone window head detail on the southern main elevation facade here. Similar issues of potentially slowly demolishing or bracing the existing facade to extract, store, and reuse. So another element that we're looking at is potentially scanning and reusing somewhere within the building of some type of framing element. Could be cost prohibitive, but something we are analyzing with the Y and the construction team. The existing cornerstone to the building, this is something that we do feel is likely able to extract and reuse with potentially a plaque next to it describing a significance on the building or somewhere within the building. This should be fairly achievable. The main entrance has several elements, which we'll go through here. Last meeting, we did discuss the light posts. Some will obviously need to be refurbished, but something we think we can extract, refurbish, provide new globes, etc., and reuse somewhere within or outside of the new Y development. Looking at the cast stone entry portal, similar concerns with the overall stone entablatures on the facade here, extracting, protecting the building and taking it down slowly to be able to take this out and store it and reuse is likely cost prohibitive, but another item that we are looking to potentially scan and fabricate, reuse within the building in some degree. Certainly some cost significance here. And alternatives to that, we are looking at just the finials at the top, similar items to either extract and or scan. What we're trying to understand there is the cost as well, or the overall fan window element above the entry door system is something we believe we could remove and reuse somewhere within a similar entry system or portal within the building. There are several dedication plaques, memorial plaques within the building that they're certainly able to remove and locate within the new building. That's not a concern, so we are looking to do so. And lastly, this is an example, but something we are able to create a new commemorative plaque of the existing Y, have it a metal plaque that's carved or laser etched in some degree to celebrate the existing building and locate that outside within the public lobby, et cetera, so that it's very visible to those in the neighborhood. So those are the elements that we have studied and looking to understand how achievable they might be to reuse, but obviously there is a lot here. And as a team, we're trying to understand what's possible.
Thank you, Dave. Adam Dash again. I mean, just to be clear, I think Dave was being a little circumspect, but the scanning part and the reusing and remanufacturing could be also cost prohibitive, and that's one of the things that we are looking at, but we're not sure we can commit to doing that. So while retaining, restoring, reinstalling, or copying like the entablatures and the main entry finials and that side window piece are not financially feasible, perhaps something like hand drawings of them or archival photos of them with explanatory text would work if the commission were willing to accept that. It's important to note the Y could still do the other items, the lion's head, the cornerstone, the light poles, the entry fan window, the existing plaques, the new commemorative plaque, and then creating archival elevations, photos, and floor plans of the building. But as far as it's very difficult at this point to commit definitively to any of those structural elements like the entablatures and the cast stone finials because they're just in the window detail because they're just so integrated with the building. And this project is already pretty close to the bone financially. And that level of work was really just not budgeted for. So, and as I said before, that there is significant public money into this project. We're trying to be good stewards of it. And, but I understand the commission's, comments from last time. Certainly understand that, but we're trying to work with you here and find some sort of common ground. So certainly happy to hear what the commissioners feel.
Okay, thank you. Assuming that is everything you all want to talk about, we would move to public comment then for this case.
Mr. Chairman, through you, this is not a public hearing.
Oh,
It's just
right,
a
right,
discussion of the MOA itself, so there's no public
Okay.
comment. Yep.
Forget that. All right, well then, commission, what do you all think?
I guess, Dave, can you take the slides down so everyone can see?
I can, I guess I'll start. I applaud the design team's work in sort of looking at what the potential elements are, and identifying those. And I think, as much of that as is feasible is definitely a good step. I think having identified a lot of those that weren't flagged last time around. Thank you for doing that and for the research. Yeah, I think that's sort of my main reaction. I'm trying to understand what in the language in the draft MOA that we received seems to talk about all of those items as proposed to be incorporated in some fashion. And I do hear what Adam was saying about, some of it may be in the form of a photo gallery or something like that, which is better than nothing. To be frank about it, I'm trying to understand where the MOA really falls on that.
Mr. Chairman, if I could through you. So the MOA was written, Mr. Chagnon, the MOA was written with basically in a similar fashion as the first draft was, which was to presume that the work would be done, that the items would be removed, restored, reinstalled, or scanned, and a replica made to some scale. Knowing that I did not have any sort of real information on the actual cost basis of what these items would be, and other than the sort of general dollar sign ranges in the presentation, the intent being that some of this would come up for discussion tonight therefore knowing that there would likely be changes to the language or could be changes to the proposed language that is an outgrowth of tonight's meeting.
That makes sense. Thank you.
And I guess, Mr. Chair, Adam Dash again, just to point out, it's items 2, 3, and 6 that are the problematic ones in the
Sure.
MOA that would need to be reworded as far as we're concerned, because I don't think we can commit to doing the things as they're worded currently. Something, as I said, like the hand drawings or archival photos of those items 2, 3, or 6, something like that, with explanatory text next to the drawing or the archival photos could be really nice in the new building. I understand it's not the same as saving the actual thing, but that's just not really feasible as we're looking into it.
I'm curious if there is a commitment to preserving any of the items that were listed there, or if there's a prioritization of the items that are in review. You know, based on any number of criteria, perhaps, you know, financially, complication of doing the work, etc. I'm just curious if the group doing the work has any such priorities or information that way.
Well, I can say, this is Adam Dash again, that the other items I think that we showed, I think we've said in those slides, we are committing to doing for instance, the lion's head, the light poles, the cornerstone. Even though the cornerstone is structural, by the time you get down to it, the building's basically gone, so it's fairly easy to
Sure.
take it out. The plaques, the new plaque, the reused plaques, the main entry fan window that Sarah White had brought up last time was something that looks like is doable. So, and it's just the light poles. So
Got it.
those things, I don't think there's a priority to them. I think those are things that we're suggesting we
Okay,
could
yeah.
do. It's 2, 3, and 6. Those big stone
Right,
structural parts of the building are just not financially
Right,
looking like
yeah.
they're going to work.
thank you.
I'm thinking potentially in the interests of, you know, as budgets develop, being in the design world, I know that the project budget always seems to go up and rarely seems to come down. But in the event that savings are found somewhere, I don't know that I'd want to close out the possibility of those. But I also am, in reading them, I see in the draft MOA, front or right at facade entablature, you know, entire feature or key elements thereof to be scanned and replicated in whole or in part in a material of the applicant's choosing and at a scale appropriate for its installation location. You know, if the end result is that the installation location is a little 24 by 36 panel on a gallery wall of archival photographs and other sorts of things, I'm sort of playing with the intent of the language there, but that, you know, the scale doesn't have to be huge, although if the scanning is the issue, then that's its own portion of the cost. I don't know what it costs to 3D scan a building facade.
Yeah, Adam Dash again. I guess Dave Cage could probably give more detail, but I would imagine scanning something that large that's up in the air like that is not exactly simple. And if we were going to do that, I get your point, but I think if we were going to go that way, I think I wanted it more explicit in here so there's no argument later on that somehow the Y is violating what they agreed to, because that's certainly not something they want to do. I mean, if it said like you left all that language in there and you said that applicant, you know, could also, instead of that, do the hand drawings or the archival photos with explanatory text, then, you know, yeah, fine. And if money magically appeared, that would be awesome. I don't see that happening, but, you know, especially when there's a lot of public money coming into this, it's not exactly easy to get. But, you know, I mean, the Y, you know, like I said, the Y was willing to run all this down because it wasn't opposed philosophically. It was just, it's just a matter of trying to do a project on a thin budget with public money for a nonprofit for a, you know, it's essentially a community center kind of thing, an affordable housing project.
Who else has thoughts here?
I'll go. I guess after seeing the report from staff and some of those frequently asked questions about kind of our purview over the MOAs, and also what is my understanding that the timeline of this project isn't immediate. It's going to be a while before a lot of this even happens. I think that it feels like that a lot of this is just going to be in good faith. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we have a lot of say over, it doesn't sound like that we can dictate what actually gets preserved, where it gets preserved, how the interior looks, or any of those things. That's not within the commission's purview, according to the MOA rules, if I read that correctly, Sarah. So yeah, I mean, I think that what I would say is that I think that the applicant made a great effort to point out some other things. We hope that, where I would hope that they would try to incorporate as many of those items as possible into the new structure. But I also understand some of the kind of financial considerations. So yeah, I would probably just move forward with hoping, agreeing with the current MOA. I would approve it with the hope that they do the best that they can.
Okay. We've lost Robin. I would say, just to be a little bit.
Mr. Chair, Robin's here. Ms.
here.
Kelly's here. Just
I
you
just
just
scroll
scroll
across.
over in the tiles. Yep.
I don't see her. It's not showing up.
I'm here.
Yeah. All right. We haven't heard from you. Yes. What do you think?
I know, I'm taking it all in, and I'm sort of understanding of Mr. Coughlin's comments about, much of this is on good faith. And, understanding this is a public, there are public funds, there is affordable housing here. We are also serving a public good on this commission. So we are all aligned in terms of this is for the public. And we are specifically concerned for this, the city of Somerville. So that said, I do appreciate that much of what we discussed at the last meeting when we talked about this, that many of the smaller elements have been incorporated, and it sounds like those are committed to. I'm, a bit disheartened, but understanding of the concerns about the larger stone elements. And we'll just have to see what can become of those. I do think it would be wonderful if at least the front piece and the doorway could be scanned, because while there may not be funds now to do something with that, there may be funds in the future, and for this property or something else on the our Central Hill Civic Campus, and so my hope would be that if that's not salvaged, that we at least have really good information, so that in the future, were there funds and the will, that could be brought back.
Thank you.
Would like to add that I appreciate that the applicant went back to take a look at the light poles and finding a few more elements to add to this list that seem doable. And I feel like those should definitely be committed to taking place. And I mean, hopefully you could maybe rearrange the MOA that says, these 4 items will definitely be included. And then, as Adam Dash said, that the larger front facade, and I think he said number 2, and anyway,
3 and 6.
3 and 6, thank you. That those could hopefully be achieved. I mean, I feel I feel a little confused about what just happened. Sorry. Sorry, I'm just being honest, but we had a meeting last time and there was a large rendering that showed what you thought you were going to do with these pieces, or at least one of the pieces, with no other thought to any of the other smaller pieces. And now that's completely off the table because of pricing, which I can understand. Perhaps you got closer into figuring out how you're actually going to achieve it and then realize that it's just too much money. And we all have goals and aspirations in life that sometimes we can't meet. But at the same time, I do have to mention that, I mean, I feel like my personal vote to allow this to move forward was because of the applicant, who they are and what they're doing for the community. And if it were somebody that was just gonna not care and develop it into condos or something, you know, ridiculous, I don't think my votes would be the same. So I just had to say that. The same time, again, I appreciate what you've done, and I don't want to be too ridiculous about what you can and can't afford, knowing that these are public funds. So if we could, I know that I hear irritation that you've had a few meetings, but this is kind of a big deal. This is kind of a big deal in a great part of the city. So if we could get another MOA that makes a commitment from you guys to do the smaller things and at least document in some beautiful renderings, or, you know, some sort of nice way to memorialize some of the things that were going to be taken down, that would be, I think I would feel better about that. Because if we could just give you the option, you're going to take it down. Just because of the cost. I mean, we get it. So if we could, as a group, decide what we could live with, I think that would be helpful for everybody. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the first time I'd seen this because I missed the meeting when the first MOA was discussed. And I have to say, I'm a little bit disappointed in the effort. I mean, this is, I get this as a budget. This is also a civic building in the Civic Center of Somerville. These are publicly important. The building that's coming down is beautiful. It's sort of unofficially a landmark. And I think it's a worthwhile expectation that we make some acknowledgement that public value also involves things like that. So I get that, like, the entire entablature of the front, with the windows, that's cast stone, that's kind of a hard thing, but just kind of throwing everything out is too expensive when we don't even have cost estimates. Is it like $10,000 in a $50 million project? I think if we leave the door open for options, we're going to see none of this. So, and frankly, like a reproduction of what's there is kind of pointless. It's the part of the whole idea is that you walk up to a piece and you say, this is the pediment, this is the piece of stone, whether it's like a little piece of it or something. And also, there's no reason that it wouldn't be put in a boiler room or a closet or something like that. It needs to be public facing. We don't have any kind of drawings of the building. We don't know where the stuff's going to go. There's no it leaves it completely open-ended. So I love the project and I get that what you're doing, but I just feel like we can't just throw the towel on everything. I would say, for example, that the two side windows, where you're just kind of dealing with a 3-foot opening, removing what's essentially a lintel over that's kind of stuff you see routinely done. You replace those for restoration projects. So I don't think we should just kind of say, fine, do whatever, scan it, and then call it a day. I would think that we ought to at least grab onto something. I would agree that some of these, I think item 2, I don't have the list in front of me anymore, is probably excessive, but I would like to see some kind of effort made to keep some parts of the stonework in a meaningful way. That's my thought. Sorry. I don't know if you all have, if the design team has any thoughts on that, like if you actually obtained pricing to remove pieces. Have you done this sort of thing? You know, it's one thing to stabilize an entire facade. It's another just to support an opening, a 3-foot opening, while you take out some stonework.
This is Adam Dash. I guess I have Dave weigh in on that from Stantec. To Ms. Price's point, I apologize. I was not trying to be frustrated about multiple meetings with you. I always enjoy my time with the commission. I was just simply pointing out the fact. Dave, do you have any thoughts about that, about the stone window detail?
No, I mean, it is, as you suggest, that you would have to stabilize a piece of the wall as we're starting to demolish. We do not have current pricing. This is from just general experience of knowing how buildings will be demolished. And as Adam Dash had noted, a very tight budget in general. These were assumptions made from experience, and as the project moves forward and contractors are brought on board, that is something that can be done in the future. But as of this time, knowing how tight the budget is and how detailed this would have to be to extract it and not damage it, support the building as it's being demolished, is definitely a very technically difficult procedure.
Thank you. On the Homans building that came down, I think we kept the big Lion's Head medallion. Was anybody involved with that? I think everybody on the commission is.
Mr. Chairman, through you, yes, we get the what. So as the building came down, the lion's head, which was the symbol of the monarch companies which built the building, was over the front entry door, and that was taken down. A silicone mold was made of it in the event that we wanted to recast it for something for like placemaking in Gilman Square or whatever have you. But the lion's head itself is in storage. Whether or not it has not been restored, and whether or not it can be restored to be reinstalled anywhere is up in the air until something further happens in that area. But it is in the possession of the city.
And they removed it. Were you wrong when they removed it?
I was. It's hard to think it was that long ago, but actually Mr. Bingham was there and took pictures of it as it was coming down, as they were taking it off as well. So that was part of the GLX project and the Green Line extension, and that was part of the MOA with, it was part of a Section 106 review, because federal licensing, permitting, funds, etc., were in whole or in part were being used, and so it was part of a memorandum of agreement that was an outgrowth of a Section 106 federal review, as opposed, but there was input from the HPC as well about the demolition of the Homans building itself. So a couple of things were going on there, but yeah, that the lion's head was extracted.
Well, what do y'all think? I guess you've already weighed in. Do you want to take a vote on it? Do you want to suggest any changes? Do you want to?
And Mr. Chairman, if I could, it certainly sounds like there are changes to the language that the commission would like to see relative to the items that were called out, right? And to maybe more, now that we've had this discussion, to say for sure, the Lion's Head and Fountain and the Cornerstone and this, that, and the other thing, and maybe reorganize that portion of the MOA so that it reads as its own as that they are in their own separate line item, like or item G, and it's all these things will be retained and restored and reinstalled, etc. And then have a separate line item discussing the other areas where we talked about scanning or making molds or whatever. But it sounds like regardless, there might be some language updates that the commission would like to see. Is that fair?
I would start off by just, maybe it's already in there and I just have it in front of me, but some language that requires that these be public facing, that they be in publicly accessible parts of the building where they relocated.
And we're talking about which items particularly
Just
right now?
Anything that's salvaged.
Okay.
Just not in someone's office building or the bathroom or the boiler room or probably just some mention of it being a publicly facing space, or if somebody else has any better lingo.
Publicly accessible, maybe
Public
is the
accessible.
right rating.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Because I mean, some of them have been talked about I could see, for instance, the Lion's Head and fountain and the plaque dedicating the pool are likely to go on in the pool.
Mhm.
I don't know if you count the pool as really public facing, but it's definitely publicly accessible.
Yeah,
I mean, it also seems to me that there are language changes that the applicant is looking for at this point, because this still talks about scanning and replicating the front
Correct.
entablature, right? So we need another pass at the language anyway, so. Yeah, I think. I mean, my take on it, having heard what the rest of the commission has said, is that it sounds like realistically, the large entablatures, the entire door assembly and all of that are probably budget-wise off the table. But capturing a piece of those, whether it's some of the cast stone finials and the, the window detail from above the entablature in some fashion, ideally the actual material, right, as you said, Chair Parks,
yeah,
alongside really good documentation of everything else. I mean, there you get when you look at a drawing, a scaled drawing of a piece of architecture, it takes on a different sense of the size and magnitude of it when there's a physical piece of it there, and the entablature piece, the finial that's 3 feet tall or whatever it is, or more than that in the case of some of them, is just a little part of the much larger assembly that's on the drawing.
Mr. Chairman, through you, if I can, I think if I'm understanding correctly, Mr. Chagnon, it's like, I can imagine, so when I was in Italy, there was like some Roman ruins in some of the museums, and you see a portion of the ruins that are damaged, but then you see the full scale, you see a replicated drawing next to it that shows it in what its entirety would have been. Is that this? So they have the real next to the,
Right.
the drawn image is what you're talking about.
That's
I'm
the sort
sorry,
of
I'm gonna
effect that
just- I'm sorry, I gotta interject. It's hard because those things were lost to time. It wasn't selectively dissected. So I do think that's different. But to DJ's point, I appreciate that having the scale of, the actual live scale of one of the elements would help enliven architectural drawings.
Mr. Chairman, through you, Ms. Kelly, that's exactly what I'm getting at, is to show the drawing next to the actual thing. And I was just trying to understand what Mr. Chagnon was actually saying, if I was understanding if I was imagining what he was actually saying. And I was just giving an example of what I understood.
so I would agree, like item 2, the front entablature, it's not technically a tablet, but that surrounds the arched windows and the upper floors, that's an unrealistic thing to reproduce because of its scale, and that scanning it or whatever is kind of pointless with a thing that large. But is there, I mean, the pieces that could be kept, we've already talked about the finials, for example. How would we, without being there, I mean, if we give them any leeway, they're going to choose the path of least resistance because this is not important to them. This other things are important. So we need to specify either now what exact pieces, or and deputize somebody to go out there and say, like, say we want those pieces of stone, ship them out when you're, the day before you demo it or something. Or maybe I'm completely off base, and really the only things that people are interested in are the lion's head, the cornerstone, the light poles, the fan window, and the plaque. I guess that's a question for y'all. Is anybody interested in trying to salvage any other of the cast stone pieces, or just let them go?
I would really feel a lot better if they kept the stone finials. There was a slide, one of the last slides of the deck, that showed, I'm trying to get to it, that showed it's G1 main entry portal finials, and there's, you know, two large taller finials and then the nice one on the top. I mean, those would be great to keep. I don't know how difficult those would be to remove and maintain. I think that at the minimum, knowing that, like you said, they'll take the path of least resistance. So looking at the list, I would be okay with number 1, the lion's head, number 4, the cornerstone, number 5, the light poles, 6, the finials, 7, the fan window, which is fantastic, and I don't think that would be too difficult to reuse. The plaques, of course, and the commemorative plaque. So it's almost everything except for the big ticket items. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts on this from people? Or things we've missed and the need necessary changes to verbiage?
I think, I mean, personally, I'd be open. I agree that the finials around the main door are really impressive, but the little arched ones over the windows on the sides of the front facade are also, they're interesting. They have the same sort of level of detail from what I can tell as around the main door. And if those turned out to be more feasible to be the piece that was actually salvaged physically from the front facade, you know, I think they still give a sense for the overall space. The barest sense, but I feel like that's sort of, with the scale of that front facade, I think that's kind of what we're left working with.
I would kind of agree with you, DJ, just because that is a distinct element that could be preserved entirely, and it's small.
Right.
Then a piece of something big that's no longer there.
Yeah.
On the flip side, they're side pieces, so it's not quite as like grandiose. I guess if you want to preserve a memory of the approach to the Y, you would have the fan light over the door. So that would kind of fill that need.
Yeah.
Although the fan light is not original. I mean, it doesn't have as many lights as the original design, the original building does. I don't know when it was replaced, but it may be historic in its own right, potentially, but it's not the original.
Good point. And I would imagine these things are set into the outer width of the brick. I mean, when I used to do this kind of stuff for schools, we routinely take this stuff out and have pieces replaced and stuff. So an engineer would confirm that, but the underlying wall is what's behind that layer. Oh, I just noticed my name is spelled wrong on the MOA. If we could fix that. Any other thoughts on what we're talking about from other commissioners? If not, we would move forward with some kind of motion that summarizes our discussion.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, through you, I thought that one of you had said that you know, changes to this to the language, I think you would want to see again. Mr. Dash, I mean, if it's just changes to the language codifying what we've heard tonight, I would kind of feel more comfortable if they just saw this again at their next meeting. If they saw a language update at the next meeting, just to make sure everything was correct.
Oh, it's Adam Dash. Yeah, I mean, certainly
That's
we
a
could.
statement and a question
Okay, sure.
to Mr. Dash.
If I understood you, yes. I mean, certainly we can.
Adam?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right. Yeah. Sarah, you've been cutting in and out. Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, good. So, yeah, we certainly could,
I'm sorry,
take
if I do that, would other people please tell me?
Yep.
Yeah, we can certainly take a look at some of these things based on the comments and talk to Sarah in the meantime, and then come back next time. That's, what the process is all about. What's the next date going to be? Would that be the?
Can you all hear
15th?
me now?
I can hear you now.
Please say
Yes.
yes or no.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
October
Thank you. So
15th?
the next date would be October 8th.
Is it the 8th, the 2nd?
I just would feel more comfortable because there's been a lot of discussion that's gone on and there's a lot to catch.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out again, Sarah, but the general just, if it's October 8th and not the 5th or the 15th, whichever it is, just let us know. We could certainly come back. I don't know, Dave, did you have any thing else to add?
This is Dave Gates. No, nothing else to add.
Yeah.
Can I ask why is it the 8th and not the 1st?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is the 1st. You're right.
Okay. Okay.
It is the 1st. Yes.
October
sorry.
1st.
I just looked at my calendar wrong. Yes. Sorry
October
about
1st. All right. Just
Yeah.
checking.
that. Can you, Mr. Chair, through you, could we please go through very slowly exactly what the changes are that you want to see so that I can capture them in my notes to then redraft the MOA?
All right.
Did you
I
all
will-
hear?
I will scroll
Great.
down, and stop me if I'm just going through the MOA scale drawings. Okay, so F has been struck and then replaced with this. New, well, I would under F somehow add language that just a reminder that it needs to be publicly accessible portion of the building. And I think we're going to keep the lion's head. We're going to get rid of, well, item 2, DJ and or Mr. Shagnon and I have discussed, instead of that, just be a mention like one or both of the side windows, and not attempt to do anything with that large
Which
cast.
I think is item 3, Chair Parks.
Is that item 3? Facade? Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'll basically strike item 2. Item 3, I would propose that we retain it, not replicate it. And I suppose I would be surprised, but if you came back to us well, no, this is an MOA, so it's harder to amend one of these. Okay, forget it. Item 4 we keep. Item 5 we keep. Item 6, we're talking about just keeping the finials themselves. Not reproducing them, but just grabbing just the finials. Item 7 we would keep. 8 we keep. And 9 keep. So under item 6, we're no longer talking about the whole opening, it's just the finials. I guess that's all it said anyway.
Yeah.
And as we move down, any changes must be first negotiated, blah, 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 blah. It's detailed. From there on, I think it's all fine, unless I missed something. And then maybe you could add an E to my name.
Every single time.
It's all right. It's my father's
Every
fault.
single time. It is.
All right, well, that gives us
Okay,
something to talk about.
so I think that.
We're losing you again.
From that, yep, exactly. Oh, okay. Can you hear me right now? Say yes or no.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Don't
Yes.
move
Oh
a
my God.
blank inch.
Oh, good. Okay, so can you hear me right now? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, Ms. White, it may help having dealt with this sort of problem in Zoom to turn
Okay,
your
so-
camera off. See if that
Let's see if
helps
that's
you.
better.
So far, so good.
Hopefully this is better. Okay, good. So I'm so sorry. I have my own laptop died today. So I spent about 5 hours in IT at the office. I have a spare emergency laptop, and apparently it doesn't work very well. So I think that's why I'm cutting out so much, because there's something wrong with the microphone. So I apologize.
Oh, you're audible now, so.
Good. All right, so I think I understand what we need to do, and I will reconnect with Mr. Dash and with Attorney Dash and get another iteration ready.
All right. Thank
Right.
you all.
Thank you all. We'll be seeing you.
Thank you. All right. Our next case is a public hearing. It's HP 24-000044, address is 53 Moore Street. The applicant is Susan Miller, the owner is Susan Miller, and it's the applicant, the scope of the applicant seeks the certificate of appropriateness to alter an LHT property by replacing windows. Is the applicant here tonight for this case?
This is Andrew
Mr.
speaking.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I couldn't get. All right. Let me go out of the room.
You have an echo.
Okay, because I'm both on my phone and on Zoom. Do you see me on Zoom? Because I couldn't connect before. Am I visible? Was I? Hold on.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Oh, good, you can hear me.
Are you?
I
Yeah.
believe
Now we're losing again.
we have lost.
Sorry,
We've lost Mr. Miller.
we've lost you again, or I've lost you.
Not just you, Jeff.
Is there a lot of solar activity right
Andrew,
now?
do you know what's going on?
Yeah, I was about to say, this is Andrew speaking. I believe we lost Susan. I see she's not in the attendees list. Oh, she just popped back up, so I'm going to allow her to speak.
Can you hear me or see me?
I
We
can
can hear you.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
I cannot.
Welcome.
And is Sarah, I guess we could proceed without.
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, I hear you. I was just wondering if our staff, if Sarah White is back or not. I
Okay,
hear you fine, Miss Miller.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I am here, but apparently my microphone is not working well.
Okay.
But I will stay here, but Mr. Graminsky fortunately has better microphone and connectivity capabilities than I do right now, because he has a better laptop. Mr. Graminsky, would you mind kind of leading this right now?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll be right here.
Okay, and welcome to the applicant. So just give us a quick rundown of what, I mean, we know what you're doing. It's a window replacement. Just can you give us a little summary of the project?
Sure. So it is the windows, I think we're down to 6 of them. I think you had approved others. On the second floor of the house is in Teal Square. It's a mansard, 1872. I am requesting to replace them with Marvin Ultimate window. It looks the most like the original windows. They're a good window, an expensive window, and I'm hoping that you will accept them. Right now, when you're outside, all you see is the storm windows up on the second floor. You don't see a window, just storms. And I know your preference is to have me just fix the old windows. I am dealing with an issue with lead, and it's become quite complicated because I am on the state database for lead paint from 2006. And I haven't been informed that anybody working on the windows has to not just be certified to work with lead, but has to be a state certified abatement person. And this is, I think, would be very difficult to get somebody to just take out and redo those windows. My plan is to have, that would help, so I have to have them put in the new windows. This has been a long, hard process to go through. It would be easier to get somebody to just de-lead the whole unit and put in the new windows than to try and find a state certified lead abatement person to fix the windows. Plus, then we would be putting back on more storms. And I kind of doubt that in 1872 they had storm windows. Did they? Storm windows? No, I want to get it to look like it should, like it was. I am putting on the storms on the first floor. The first floor has already been de-leaded. Those windows upstairs, $14,000. I cannot get all new windows. The storm windows themselves, $600 each. I need 11 of them, I think. This is a major thing, plus the whole de-leading piece that has to go on with it. So this is what I am hoping. These are good windows. They look like the original window. I can't even order the storms until you approve the regular windows because I want the color to match. So that was just kind of a wasted bit of time to do the storm windows first, because everything has to match the regular windows. And that's it. Is there anything I should add?
I don't think so. If there are any questions, you can pop back on.
Okay.
Thanks. And at the moment, what we do is, since this is a public hearing, we'll switch to the public comment. See if anybody has any comment on your case. If so, raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
I also want to add that I have an inflammatory disease, and I several times, emailed that stress makes me worse, and I have in fact gotten sicker. My fingers don't work so well anymore. Storm windows are hard for me, really hard to get. And the upstairs, I have to get over things to open them. And I don't think I could do it. And frankly, in the last 4 months, more parts of me are no good. Fingers are much worse.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who want to speak?
Mr. Chairman, I do not see anyone with their hands raised, so you may close the public comment portion of this case.
All right, I'll do that. I close the public comment portion of this case. And I will turn this over to the commission. I'll let you all start off with any thoughts on this.
Did I hear that some of the windows were already replaced and approved by us? Is that accurate?
The ones that couldn't be seen from the street.
Okay.
Okay.
were
Okay.
approved. Mhm.
So when I
But-
walked by today, it looked
Yep.
like everything was the same from what I could see on the street, first and second floor.
Mhm. Yeah, I haven't done anything because I can't do anything. I have to buy all the windows together. I had worked down, it took me a month and a half to get a good price on these. The good price was $14,000. I will have lost that price by now because it has been 6.5 months since I negotiated it. And the person that gave me that price is no longer representing me. And I have to go back now and start from scratch. The plan is even those ones that were approved, I want to put the same windows in. You know, I do like things to be consistent. I want the colors to be the same. I want the house to look good. I've lived here 28 years. This house was my heart, and now it's giving me a lot of trouble because it's just so old. Also, the price for de-letting, $25,000. It's only 3 rooms up there and a porch, but there's a barn. I don't know how to do this. But I'm kind of determined to try and make this house as nice as I can.
Thank you. Anybody else on the commission want to offer any thoughts on this?
I will say that it is clear from how the applicant is talking about the house that you are trying to do the best thing for it that you can, and also for your condition and everything else. And I appreciate that, and I want to recognize that. I mean, I think that it sounds like the de-letting process itself is what's impacting the feasibility of keeping the existing material up there. That, and as the applicant said, that it ends up then with storms over the windows that are disguising the detailing more than the proposed replacement windows would do. And it's from what I can remember, this is a window type that we have accepted in the past.
You have.
Yeah, as an appropriate window when the original material couldn't be saved. I think the staff report lists, a number of conditions about the spacer bars and the non-tinted windows and so forth that the applicant isn't planning on doing anyway, but we need to memorialize them. And I personally would be comfortable with the replacement under the recommended conditions in the staff report. Sort of my quick reaction.
I agree with DJ. I think that we've approved this kind of thing in the past. I also agree. I've always felt that the storm windows solution is kind of an awkward one. I would prefer to see a building that's historic have no storm windows. That's what it was originally meant to look like. So if we can get new windows without the storms on something that we've approved before, I see no problem with it. I would vote to approve.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, could you speak to the precedents that's been set in the past? Because I haven't been on the commission long enough to.
Well, that's the thing. I'm going to be a little bit of a devil's advocate. If we approve it, we're saying that anybody who has lead paint can replace their windows.
Right.
That's because that's the rationale. So
It's
I'm just
121 School Street, I think. It's a whole building has them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've definitely replaced approved replacements. The concerns that I would have are one that we'd have a hodgepodge. You'd have different window types from the upper and lower floors. Some with storm, some without. And then the other, I'm just throwing these out. is the guidelines say keep your old windows. And so absent any hardship or any, I mean, official per the route we have by the guidelines, the precedent, our precedent usually is that we allow replacements of windows when there's a mixture of windows, and it's sort of like you've got some vinyl and you've got some others, and it's viewed as sort of an overall improvement to kind of unify the facade with something that's a better quality wood with integral divided lights, the black spacer bars, et cetera, painted wood exterior, things like that. That's kind of what we accept. I think our precedent is probably a bit all over the place with that. I've lately been feeling like we got a lot of people who come in and say that the window guy says we got to replace these because they're not salvageable. And there isn't a shred of like documentation that there was any pricing achieved, or that no one ever went to find out what that actually entailed. So I personally just been getting a little bit more cagey about it. But on that flip side, I totally recognize the issues that the applicant faces here. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, Ms. Price, to that question.
Thank you.
Do we still have a certificate of hardship as an option? I recall that having existed in the past, but I'm not sure it's in the current.
Mr. Chairman, through you, yes, under MGL Chapter 40C, there is a potential certificate of hardship. Did you all hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Who's our, Mr. Coughlin, you have experience with de-letting? I mean, I know there are, the Window Preservation Alliance has all sorts of people out there who specialize in window restorations, and I know that they routinely steam and strip windows and give.
I called everyone. I have a whole.
Called all those people. And what did they tell you? That they can't.
They are not on the state's list as, there's a difference between who's certified to work with lead and what do they call, a lead abatement person on the state's list. They told me, had I not had the house inspected in 2006, I could do anything. I could have somebody take the window out, they could scrape them, they could do anything. I can't now. I can't have anybody touch those windows unless they are on the state's database as a lead abatement person. It is not easy to even get them. I have been working on this for 1.5 years.
Mr. Chairman, Ms.
Yes,
Ms. Miller, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask a question to understand what it is, Ms. Miller, that I understand you had some sort of assessment done on the house in 2006. What is it that requires you to use specific state licensed people? Did you get a grant? Was there a loan?
It's the law. It's the law.
No.
I'm telling you, it is the law, because I had it reassessed. It was actually the same guy, came 2006, and he came, 6 months ago. And he informed me that is the state law.
So I will share, because I have to review the lead paint law with clients all the time. So now that the property exists in the database because inspection was done and it was found to have lead paint, and I just checked Lead Safe Homes and 53 more shows up, that it now needs to be certified removal people who can touch things. But what I'm not clear about is why it would need to be the same person doing the whole shebang, that there couldn't be de-leading that occurred and then restoration, because that would seem to me the process that would make best sense, that you have the abatement done and then have the windows restored and reinstalled by someone who's a window expert, because the lead abatement people are expert at lead removal, the window people are experts at windows. And so I don't know that anyone exists as just a end-to-end provider. I think it needs to be two.
Yeah, it can't be two. First of all, I don't want those windows. I can't open the windows. Okay, my fingers don't work well anymore. I'll be able to deal with them on the first floor, but I can't climb over things to open those windows. The windows themselves and the storm windows, really hard for me.
What is it that you're climbing over on the the
Oh,
upper
there's
right?
furniture and things. I can't do it. Okay, all right, then the cost in de-letting those windows is probably more than just buying new ones. It is not worth it to me.
Unfortunately,
windows are-
Ms.
I
Miller,
understand. Mhm.
we have guidelines that we
I
have to
understand. I read
follow,
them.
and
Mhm.
the guidelines are that when windows can be preserved, they need to be preserved. And so, you know, new refurbished windows will function a lot better than your current windows, and new storm windows will function a lot better than the existing storm windows.
So you
In
want me
terms of
to-
access to the windows, furniture placement can obviously be adjusted to make windows more accessible. And if they aren't accessible, then I'm not clear as to why they're being opened, because if the window is blocked, then it's not helping as a fire egress, which is really the primary concern with windows being opened, would be for emergency egress.
So you're suggesting I have de-letters come in, take out those windows, de-lead those windows, leave my windows open. It takes for whatever months. I had the first floor de-leaded, I had to move out. It's not a quick, easy thing. You cannot live in your house. So they would take out the windows. It would take however long it takes them to de-lead them. Then they have to put back the windows. Then I have to get somebody who's a window person in after the de-letter has put them back in to adjust the windows, and then get storm windows, which look terrible and make a lot of glare from the street and don't look historic. The glare on the first floor, not so bad. When you look up, all you see is glare of storm window. You do not see the window. So I just think that should be taken into account. I understand where you're coming from. I read the, the statement that was sent. It's not feasible for me, and you don't have to worry about that, but I can't do it.
Is this a rental unit? Is that why you're letting it up there?
It is not currently, but the retirement plan is to de-let it, yeah. And I can't change the windows. I can't use those well, the old storms are just a disaster. But yeah, the plan is that when I retire, and I'm getting there, it gives me an option of being able to rent it.
So it's a two-family house.
It was built as a one, and there's a duplicate to it, 2 houses away. It's very small, but
Yeah,
it was legally
But
turned
it's
into
currently
it.
2 apartments, correct?
It was turned into that, yeah. And I kept that status for exactly this reason, so it was be a backup for when I retire.
I understand and appreciate Ms. Miller's challenges with the current setup, but I'm not understanding anything that would actually prevent the adherence to Massachusetts lead law, or for us to be able to abide by the rules that we have around preserving existing windows. These processes are not fun, they're not cheap, but they are what is required in a historic house. And the house has tremendous equity in it. And so I would expect that, the cost of this, it would be possible to have in a, home equity line of credit or something like that would facilitate some of this. And there will be inconvenience having the windows out, but hopefully with coordinated efforts between the de-letting company and the window restorer, who would take the windows directly from the lead people, it would not be reinstalled until the restorers have gotten their hands on it, fixed them up, and then they would reinstall them. The storm windows could be done at a separate time. So once the windows are in fact restored, or before the, the storms could be done. They don't have to be done at the same exact time, so that you would still have storm windows on the house. And it would seem to make best sense to do this during a more temperate time of year, not in the dead of winter. But, these are the rules. Massachusetts state has the lead paint law, and that's really tough to work around. The Historic Commission has guidelines that we are required to follow in terms of preserving components of historic houses.
Mm-hmm. Well, donate the windows. Use them someplace else. Listen, I have talked to these people. I can barely get a de-letter person in the house. Okay, it is not easy. My de-letting file goes back over a year calling people. It is not a simple or easy thing. It is probably not something I can do. Okay? Just this process, I have lost 20 pounds. I am not well. This is a hardship on me. They don't know why. Anyway, I think that this is keeping within the spirit of the law. It's going to give a window that looks more historic than what it looks like with the storm window.
Okay, who else has not had anything to say or wants to add anything to this in the commission yet?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Oh, good. You can hear me.
You're there.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I just wanted to make a note that we have a member of the public with their hand raised, but I just want to tell that member of the public that the public comment portion of this case has been closed. So once it is closed, it is not reopened. So just wanted to give you that heads up.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. White, could I ask you to briefly outline the hardship?
Now we're losing you.
Sort of the requirements for the hardship that would involve, so that people understand when we use the term hardship, it's very specific.
Ms. Kelly, Vice Chair Kelly, if I could, yeah. So that the certificate of hardship is interesting under MGL Chapter 40C. I know that you've only done it a couple of times in the past that I am aware of, and one of those was on 20 George Street many, many, many years ago, actually a few decades ago. And that was, I believe that was like a financial hardship claimed by that particular property owner. A lot of building elements were allowed to be removed. Inappropriate siding was put on, which really caused some damage to the house, etc. And then about 20, 30 years later, when a new owner came in to do work on the property, all of that work ended up having to be reversed. So the certificate of hardship can be for a number of things, financial in nature, but usually the HPC asks for specific proof of financial hardship, and that gets a little dicey after a while, obviously because of the nature of that information being asked for. Sometimes it is a condition of the building that can be a hardship itself, but it's really on a case-by-case basis. As opposed to with the demolition review ordinance, which has very, very, very specific criteria for claims of hardship that are actually spelled out in the ordinance itself. The hardship here in Chapter 4 under Chapter 40C is really much more left to the discretion of the HPC itself, as opposed to outlining very specific items.
Thank you.
I don't think I can do it financially. It's $25,000 to de-lead. Why, you might think? Because the back of the barn has to be de-leaded, even though nobody could get back there. Okay, that's the price. That and the windows. Then $600 each storm window. And then the $1,000 for the storm windows on the first floor. I can't.
I'm sorry, Ms. Miller, I don't believe in order for the windows themselves to be handled safely that you need to do any de-leading other than the windows. So anything that's unrelated to the windows, certainly if you were trying to get a certificate of lead compliance, that's a different story. But if we're just talking about restoring, repairing windows, the only requirement is that whoever touches them, because they've been found to have lead paint, that they need to be certified so that they're handling them safely and not going to injure someone else or themselves, et cetera. But there wouldn't be any reason that you should need to de-lead any other areas aside from the windows.
Yeah, but if I rent, I'm afraid of that. Somebody gets pregnant. I've known people who've done it and they have to put them up.
That's an entirely separate story, and that's for you to handle as a landlord and make those decisions accordingly. But in terms of what's required to address these windows, that you don't need to do all the other work. So to say that it's $25,000 to de-lead, that's to facilitate your investment as a landlord. That's not to repair the windows.
I also question whether I can even get a de-leader to do that small a job. They're not that open to even coming here. But I have called probably 20 people. 2 came. Or people come and then they never call you back because they don't want to. Well, they don't want to do that barn. But yeah, I would like to have that. But you're right. But maybe we go back to whether this is an appropriate window to use. And I think it's been pointed out that it looks historically accurate. And right now, all you see is a storm window. It will look more like it was originally built to look like than it will with another storm. Nobody sees, my understanding is the Historic Commission does not have provenance over how things look from the inside. And the only place you see those wood windows are on the inside. They're simply not
visible from the exterior.
I walked by today and looked at them, so they're not that invisible. You just have to maneuver to where the glare is not bad.
You might, what could you see? You see the middle piece, and other than that, I've lived here 28 years. You don't see
what
it.
you tend to look at is that even the nicer, not to go on a tangent here, but even the better replacement windows have wider components, the sides and the bottoms and the rails. So that's in an old window, especially very old windows, they can get really, really skinny in a way that modern windows don't do because they're usually holding insulated glass, which is thicker and they need more stability. So that's usually what I look at when I see these windows. The muntins, they can fake that out pretty well with the divided muntins if it's from a distance. Anybody else on the commission have thoughts that hasn't already spoken on this or want to add anything?
Yeah, I just don't, I think that I haven't been on the commission that long, maybe about a year. And we've had several projects that have requested this exact thing. And I can't remember a time where we've required them to replace the windows or to repair the windows. I feel like every time we have agreed to the replacement windows. Is there something that I'm forgetting?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So we don't have any information or evidence that these windows are in great disrepair, which often when we have allowed replacements, it's because they are beyond salvaging. Or, as Chair Parks noted previously, there's already a hodgepodge of windows. So there may be a couple originals, but then there are also other replacements or vinyl windows. And so, just retaining the two historic windows and then replacing all the others, the goal towards consistency is lost. And here, by approving new windows for the upper floor, not only are we losing historic fabric, which we are not supposed to do, but we are creating disharmony between the first floor and the second floor, because the first floor will continue to have the storm windows. And so while historic may have approved windows suitable for the back, it wasn't, I mean, that wasn't really in historic's purview unless it is in fact
Yeah.
visible from a public way.
Right.
And maybe it in an obscure way is, but in that location on Moore, I mean, maybe from the little side thing, but
No, the back wasn't my concern. It was just, I feel like that there were several projects, including front-facing windows on, I think there was 22 Porter. There was a project on Central. There's a project on Bow Street. They're all historic windows, and I think we approved for all of them. So maybe it was just what you said. Maybe it was just that those windows were so destroyed that they couldn't be repaired. Maybe that's what I missed. Maybe that's the part that I'm forgetting.
yeah, I mean, we
So
just we don't have any information about the windows not being salvageable.
Okay.
I can tell you that the storm windows will be basically an exact match because they had 6 shades of green and I could get the one that would look like the upstairs.
What brand? I'm just curious what storm, the triple track, whose would you be using? We don't have any preview over that, so we don't.
I have a file. I have a storm window sewer.
Oh, I don't mean to dig an attention. We don't have any say over storm window selection, so I was just curious.
I can get the file if you like, and I think
That's
I.
right. I
Yeah.
wouldn't trouble you. All right, well, we have to eventually vote on this, and we could do both things. We could take a vote. It could be continued if the applicant wants to spend more time on the what abatement entails and come to us with more information that way. Or we could just take a vote, yes or no. What's the preference of the commission out there? Or the applicant?
You asking me my preference?
That's asking everybody that on the commission. We've heard different opinions among the commissioners, and we could either go for a vote now and say yes or no. Or is there any reason that we would want to suggest that the applicant continue it and present more information later? Is there anything else that might want to be seen before voting?
I will say, given that I spoke first in the whole process here and then have been quiet and listening for a while, I think that I am, given the concerns raised about the lack of any reason that the windows wouldn't be salvageable of the original fabric and so forth, and that the consistency of the original windows is still there. They seem to be in relatively, well, we don't know what state of repair they're in, but we haven't heard anything that would indicate that they're not. I think in retrospect and thinking about it, I would have a tougher time than I originally stated voting for a certificate of appropriateness on this. I personally am still open to considering a certificate of hardship if that's how the commission wanted to go.
Thank you. I would sort of like to jump on that. The lead issue, I would like to know definitively that if that is truly the case, that there are no D-letters in Massachusetts that are licensed who will touch a window, then that's a bigger issue we need to know about. So right now, I don't feel like that's entirely been fleshed out. And
You can call the ASAP who do the lead inspections that are well versed in the law, and it has to be a lead abatement person. Is that what you're asking? Whether it has to be?
If just hypothetically, if we said, oh, these need to be de-leaded by a licensed lead abatement contractor, then what it's basically saying is that nobody could ever keep their original windows if there's lead and it's been
Only
licensed.
if it's on the state database.
State database. And
Only
I think
had I not had it inspected in 2006, anybody could do it. The state wouldn't know,
Yeah.
and anybody could do it. But I am legally responsible, and I was warned that I had to have this done. I also want to just point out, to have the storms, I have to open 2 windows. I have to get the window open and then a storm window open.
But you do that in the spring and the fall, right? Just beginning of it.
You do that many times a day, right? Not
Open a storm and
freezing cold, but yeah, man. I don't know. Right now I'm dealing with triple tracks, so those you have to put them up and down. Maybe the new ones are easier.
well, I have wood storms. So I have even more hazard. But I'm younger. I think does anybody else in the commission want to say anything, or otherwise we could entertain some kind of motion as we have more cases on our agenda.
I move that we vote to deny the certificate of appropriateness.
Would that be a vote to deny or just a vote to approve with negative votes being, I don't know how we usually structure those things.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I think we do we structure the DRO ones a little bit differently because it has to be, yeah, I'd make a motion that it's historically significant and people say yes or no to agree whether or not it's historically significant. It would be appropriate, it would be okay to make a motion to deny the certificate of appropriateness, just as it would be if you wanted to approve the certificate of appropriateness. Either
Okay.
one is fine, just as long as you understand which way you're voting when you're actually making your vote.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Vice Chair Kelly to deny certificate of appropriateness for replacement of windows. And is there a second for that?
I second that.
Okay. So all in favor of a yes vote would be to deny the motion. All in favor of that, like yes or aye, and then
Aye.
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 opposed? And we'll do a roll call. Get my screen back here.
I'm just gonna put in, I can't do this. I can't go through starting all over from scratch. You just can't. So it's just gonna stay like that.
Okay,
It's been a year and a half. Oh, whatever.
um, we're in the middle of doing a roll call on our vote, so can pick up at Mr. Shagnon.
Gonna abstain.
Okay, Ms. Price,
Can you please clarify if I vote yes, we are denying the certificate of appropriateness?
yes.
I'm not sure. So I'm voting yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Coughlin,
Abstain.
Mr. no, we already covered you. I just went too far. Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. I think that's covered everybody. So we have what, 4 yes, 2 abstains?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you all. So we have another case to get to. If you have any other proposals, I would suggest bring it to staff on things. But at the moment, that's the way we're working with the window replacement. Just gotta get my agenda back again here. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is HP 24-000076. Address is 35 Cedar Street. Applicant is Mazeltov LLC. Owner is John Mallon. The applicant seeks to demolish a principal structure constructed a minimum of 75 years ago. Is the applicant here tonight?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is here tonight. I am going to unmute Julian Lewis and Maxwell Shortsleeve. Hold on one second as I do this. And if you would each unmute yourselves, as long as you're not in the same room, because then you'll just get like feedback and crossfire. And whoever is going to lead, please introduce yourselves and your role, and everything will go through the chair.
Good evening, Julianne Lewis, Mazel Tov LLC, the owner of 35 Cedar Street. The subject property is a 2-family 2.5-story front gable Italiante with a 2-story rear addition. The property was unit 1. The first unit was renovated 10 to 15 years ago. The second unit was renovated something along the lines of 30 years ago. We have had a chance to review the staff report. There was a previous notable owner, Robert Blanchard, who was the leader of a Woburn band, who purportedly lived in the property from 1903 to 1940. There have been some notable alterations that staff has noted that include some replacement doors and windows, as well as vinyl siding, vinyl trim, and looks like the roof has been removed at some point. We actually are the owners of the property. We did purchase it, so it's not owned by the Mallons anymore, but the previous owner did own the property from 1962 through just recently when we acquired the property. That's it. I guess with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Chair, the rest of the commission, and thank you, Sarah White, for the intro.
Thank you. Okay, if there are any members of the public who would like to speak, please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
And I see no members of the public with their hand. Oh, I see a member of the public with their hand raised. Meredith Porter, I am going to unmute you. If you would please unmute yourself and please provide your name and address for the record.
Hi, Meredith Porter, 104 Josephine Ave. Just wanted to comment that it's interesting that this property is adjacent to 33 Cedar Street, which you just considered recently and found to be historically significant. And I don't know if that might be of interest to you in considering the significance of this property as well. And the staff report is quite interesting. And that's about all I have to say. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the only other person that has their hand raised is a member of the applicant team. And so Maxwell, as a member of the applicant team, you speak with the applicant, not as public comment. And other than that, I see no other hands. So, Mr. Chairman, you may close the public comment portion of this case.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll close the public comment portion of this case and give the applicant the person to get a chance to speak. They want to add anything.
Thank you. No, I don't think there's anything for us to add at this point, but happy to respond to any comments or questions that the board has.
Okay. All right, Commission, what do you think?
I'll start. So while the property does not retain as much of its original detail as some of the nearby houses, and clearly the front fenestration has been changed, it does retain its largely its scale and massing, and it contributes to the streetscape in that large group of front gabled houses. And so I think it would be detrimental for it to be taken down.
Thank you.
I agree. I think that with a little bit of window refiguring on the main floor and some front door zhuzhing, I think it could be a great place, and it matches a number of the houses on the street, and I think it would be a shame to let it go.
Yeah, I support that line of thinking also. I think it would be detrimental because it does fit into the context of the neighborhood. I think that's important and significant.
Brian.
Yeah, I concur. I think it's, on its own, it's lost a number of its features, but the form and the massing are still there, and it very much clearly reads as part of this group. Yeah.
Okay. I missed, this must have been the last hearing, the adjacent one when I wasn't there, but it seems to have that same, as it's been said before me, that it's sort of carrying on the rhythm of that side of the street as a pattern of these same type of buildings. This one's a little bit more altered than the one next to it, but retains all its massing. But for the change of a door and a window, it would be the same fenestration siding. So I would think of this as significant for the same reason we thought the neighbor project was significant.
Unless Mr. Coughlin has something to share, then I would propose that we vote to find the property historically significant.
I second the motion.
Did you have anything you want to add, Mr. Coughlin? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
Okay.
nothing to add. Everybody kind of said the same things that I was thinking.
Okay, cool. All right, we have a motion by Vice Chair Kelly, seconded by, I think, Mr. Shagnon. Did I get that right?
I believe it was Mr. Falvey, actually.
Yeah.
Mr. Falvey, sorry, Ryan.
All right.
Blurry-eyed here. Okay, all in favor of Vice Chair Kelly's motion? Aye.
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 Opposed? And let me get my screen back and do a roll call. I'm going to try something novel here. All right, Mr. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
Yes.
Ms. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So then we need to adopt findings. And I think we could, obviously the ones that I would start off with is it's significant in relation to the streetscape that around it on that side of the street. Retains its original form and massing. Anything else?
I think those are the most important
it,
aspects.
Okay,
I move
Yeah.
that we vote to adopt those findings.
I'll second that one.
okay. Motion to adopt findings by Vice Chair Kelly, second by Mr. Shagnon. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And Mr. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. So, well, there you have it. It's the same usual process. Applicant will come back for a determination to see if it's properly preserved or not next month or next meeting, whenever that next opening is.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but when staff is updating the report, if they could go through very carefully and correct the references to 33 Cedar, which show up in the header and also in some of the text throughout the body of the report, just so that there isn't any confusion that this is 35. So just to note that there are a number of places where 33 shows up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll be sure that the planner takes care of that. I'm sorry, Madam Vice Chair, but you know what I meant.
All right. And next on our agenda, we have 3 sets of meeting minutes for August 6th, 20th, and September 3rd. I have skimmed them briefly, but not in great depth. Does anybody have any changes to those? Or edits?
Did we receive those?
I missed those, I think.
I saw them somewhere. Let's see. Let me see these. Okay, I've lost the email.
Um, It's like, do you know if we have minutes to approve that?
So yes, I was just looking at that. So yes, Mr. Chairman, through you, I see it noted on the agenda, but I don't see that the board liaison attached them to the email sent to you last week. So I will make a note to her, and I'll make sure that they are included in the next round. So you could just put this aside until let's see, what is it? The October 1st meeting.
Because I could swear I saw those cross my path here.
And honestly, I could swear that they crossed my path too.
All right.
Um,
But I'm not finding them now in my email, so maybe I just
oh, and I don't see it. So
imagined it. Right.
yeah.
Huh, I don't see. Okay, so we will postpone that then until everybody's had a chance to read those. Now we'll dig back through my email file. So the only other thing on our agenda is the oh shoot, I just closed it. The I think the CPC update. There has been no CPC meeting since our last meeting, so there's nothing to add to that. Other than that, we're looking for 2 new members, and we got 15 potential applicants. So the CPC has.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
That's
I was
great.
jealous. I was jealous. So for 2 spots. So there's going to be some interviewing of people, and to see, these are for general members, that not people who are kind of thrown in from one of the 3 subject areas. Me. And yeah, there might be some people who there's some interesting folks. Any questions about the CPC or what's going on there?
Is that a paid commission?
Yeah, we get $100,000 a year for each of us. So I'm just kidding. Plum gig. No, it's volunteer. I think they're just a lot of
Impressive.
I don't know what it was. Roberta has a way with applicants or something. I don't
Well,
know.
that, the CPC gets the fun of spending money.
That's
or-
true.
Yeah.
Or
Mr. Chairman, for
allocating money.
you, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that like you guys have rules, the CPC has money. And that's
Yeah.
exactly the way Roberta's always said it to me, and it's true. I mean, they get to spend money, and like the money is very specifically allocated, right? There's a certain amount that absolutely must go to each bucket, and like affordable housing, which tends to be where like the housing sector tends to be where a lot of interested folks come from. There's actually not a heck of a lot of influence that you really have on affordable housing, other than you take that whole pot of money and you give it right over to the Affordable Housing Trust, which is great because like you know exactly where it's going every time. So yeah. And they have fewer meetings a year, and there's all that.
Sounds rewarding.
It's an interesting, and when I first joined that group, it was a little bit overwhelming because it seemed like there's so much nuance to it, but there are a lot of different methodologies and thoughts and approaches to why you dole out money, and trying to be consistent about it. Yeah, it's sad because there's so much need out there, and you sometimes get a whole bunch of tiny little projects, and you have one big one that can swallow up a lot of the budget, like City Hall or something. So, but there were some people, we can't, we're not allowed to you call that when you grab people off the dock and put them on your ship for the trip across the
Oh,
beach.
oh,
Yeah.
conscript?
conscript, yeah.
Conscript.
But there's some people that the city might want to reach out to express an interest in historic things. So we might be able to piggyback on some of those efforts that Roberta made to get people interested.
That'd be
All right.
good.
Well, that's that. I don't think there's anything else on our agenda.
Hearing that, if you're entertaining it, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
I'll second.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Shagnon, seconded by Vice Chair Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? And let me get my screen back again. Mr. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Thank you all.
All right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
See you in October 1st? Is that what we're saying?
That's what it is.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, good night.
Bye.
Thank you.